What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. I'm Tommy McCollister, joined by Diane McCollister.
Hey.
Guys, so today we got a powerful podcast, and it's how to return your feminine energy to your wife. And guys, I hate using words like masculine and feminine and things like that, but I'll tell you so much. We've been doing this so long, babe, that the roles when a man's actually in his masculine and the woman's actually in her feminine, how amazing the marriage actually works.
Right. It flows the way it's supposed to.
Which is biblical in those roles. Like we are all created for who we're supposed to be in those aspects. Like men have manly traits for a reason, and women have those feminine traits for a reason. And so when we actually use them and try to not be something we're not, which is why our culture is being destroyed, but also being broken down, built back up right now, even better in certain aspects. That's a whole nother topic. Because women have been tried to be championed to get out of their feminine and become in the masculine, and that will destroy a household. I've yet to see a woman who is in her masculine and having the marriage be phenomenal.
Right. Well, that's not how God created it to be, so it's not going to work the way it's supposed to.
Exactly. It'll always be forced. It'll always be pressing. There'll always be conflict. There'll always be issues. So guys, I'm going to jump in this. We're going to rip through what that looks like for the man and what that looks like for the women and how those roles play out. But we're going to start specifically on how to return that to your wife, but then also what that looks like, what those roles are for the husband, and then what those roles are for the wife. And so, so first one, guys, and this one's always going to sound cliche, but you have to step up and lead as the man in the relationship. As we're saying in that, oftentimes when marriages start going bad, the wife is looking for security and men want respect. And if the man's not doing that, she will take that role and get on the watchtower and be in it, because somebody's going to be that leader of the house,
right,
and fighting for that dynamic. And especially since her natural DNA is to crave leadership, to crave security in those areas. If it's not going to be there, she'll go find that security because she's a mother and she wants to protect her young cubs, right? That's why you see a mama bear that's like so that way. But if the father bear in this situation is really being that, the wife can be in her role. So that's why the man has to lead. And if he's doing that the right way, he's a strong lighthouse that no matter the storm that hits, she can trust that whether it's a storm or this calm waves, the lighthouse shines this bright no matter what. Vice versa, if that gets given to the woman, then the man will try to take it back, but then he also doesn't want it. The passive man will come in and just, well, I don't want to say anything because it causes an argument, so I'll just let her do that role. And then, we're raising the kids and we're making money, so like, let's just keep this going. Well, then you have a terrible marriage, and you're actually showing the kids what a terrible marriage looks like. So they're going to have those same roles in their marriage as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So the next one is stop being emotionally weak. Women don't want a man who crumbles under pressure. That's why we say no matter the storm that blows, you're the lighthouse. You're strong in that, and you will set the course to be able to give them assurance that no matter what's happening, you will be good. So if you have like a financial struggle that comes into your life, I had a call with a guy today, and they've been renting, it was his wife's parents' house, and they died and they've been living in it. But then now, because they're siblings, they're going to eventually sell the house so the siblings can get their inheritance as well. But they want to make it work for them and all these things. And now they've been living there for so long, they don't want to move, especially with the way pricing is. His wife is a stay-at-home. She stays at home. He works, he provides financially. But now if they move, she might have to get a job because the house they live in now, they're basically living there for dirt cheap. And he was saying, he was just like, man, like, I didn't handle it well the other day. I realized, like, oh my God, I don't have the down payment for this house, and I don't want to have to move. We're going to have to move into like an apartment or something. He's like, dude, I don't even know what I'm going to be able to do because we're living a really good life right now. We can go on trips and all these other things, and I didn't steward that well. And he's like, and so I was like, babe, you got to get a job. He's like, we're going to have to figure this out. You need to go get a job and all this other stuff. And da, 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 da. And he's like, and so after he spoke the whole spiel, I said, bro, you just spoke all of that over her in fear. One, the Bible says, do not be afraid 365 times. So, and God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. But yes, that's a real situation. But instead of sitting her down, talking and telling her your concerns, and talking through how you're going to figure this out.
Right.
Hey, we might have to cut expenses. We might have to cut back on this. And this is how we're going to let this thing. Let's go to prayer, and that we're going to believe in God, and we're going to do these things. And this is how we're going to take care of this.
Right.
Instead of immediately letting your decision, your emotions and your feelings base your decision instead of your commitments, you went straight to, you need to get a job and all that other stuff. Well, now she's like, what? My whole world's flipped upside down. I'm going to have to get a job, which she might not be opposed to, but now she's being forced to do this and these things. And you need to do this and you, it's like all out of fear. She's not emotionally feeling stability out of you.
Well, yeah. And we're a reflection of each other. So if he's feeling fearful, how do you think she's going to feel? She's going to feel like, oh my gosh, like everything's just crazy. And how am I supposed to deal with this? My husband can't deal with this. How am I even supposed to deal with this then? He's not leading by example in that way of, saying it the right way to be able to work out something together.
If he's scared, she'll be even more scared.
Yes.
You've always said that like, because we've always said this, marriage is a direct reflection of who you are, especially as the leader of the house, because the husband is the head of the house and the head of the wife, just as Christ is the head of the husband. Now, that only works if you're actually submitted to Christ. That doesn't mean you just believe in him. That means you actually do what he actually says. That's a key point. But so in when we look at like our old situation, you used to nag me and be a no person on every single situation.
Yes.
But why were you no? Because I wasn't stewarding our money well. I wasn't emotionally stable. There was no vision for our marriage or our life. It was just like, hey, we're just trying to get through life and these things. Well, no wonder you were scared, because I wasn't in that spot. And so you always said, marriage was a direct reflection of who we were. And so you were always saying that when you're happy, I'm happy. When you're stressed, I'm stressed. And so that's why it's a direct reflection. But if I'm fearful in that and I'm the man and I can usually kind of muscle it up, imagine how a feminine woman feels in that situation.
Yeah. Security.
Right. And so would you say that's probably why you were like, no, and all that's nagging and all that stuff?
Absolutely. Because I had no clue. I had no structure in our life. We were just all over the place. So my mind was all over the place. So my emotions were going to be all over the place. It all goes together.
Yeah. I remember so many times and it's, as we were growing, it still peeked its head in like, babe, I'm going to,
yeah.
When I'm invested in coaching multiple times, and we still have a coach now. Right.
But I used to be fearful of like you spending that money, because it brought me back to like when we didn't steward our money well, or you didn't lead in that way as well. So it brought me fear of like, oh, are you sure that we should spend that money? And now I'm like, okay, let's just whatever.
I love how you just made yourself sound nice there. That's not how it came out. In that money, true. I would be like, babe, I think we, really want to invest into this coaching program. And you were like, well, I mean, I've seen the changes that this happened. That was great. That is, but we just can't afford that right now.
Yeah.
And you would be just like, we just can't afford that right now. Yeah. You would go straight to, we can't afford that right now, which is living in a defeated mindset and broke and all that other stuff. And that's how it came out. Well, that was how your mindset was, because I honestly wasn't leading you to believe anything otherwise than that.
But it was always a capital no.
Now it's like, yep, signing up. Okay, cool. Do whatever you want. And we've said that, like, once I became that man, and it took time, guys. Diane stopped me on a walk about 2 years ago and looked me straight in my eyes. And this is out of her character, because her authority has grown so much, and says, you can do whatever you want, and it's going to be a yes from me. And that's after the first 15 years of our marriage was always a no for the most part.
Big change.
Now, just because she was no on it didn't mean it stayed at a no, but it was not like, I trust you, husband.
Yeah. Yeah. It was always a no right away, until maybe you were able to explain a little bit more or talk more, with a little bit of authority of sharing with me what that really actually looked like.
100%, because that goes into the next one, right? Creating an atmosphere of safety. You have to make them feel safe emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, and all of that different stuff. You have to be a provider of the household. The Bible talks about the man as the provider, right? But most men, they think that they're a provider because they're providing finances for it. That's like the least one of it all, but it's a big part, because we got to eat, we got to have a house and stuff. Most people, especially in American, are way overspend to that. They get all these luxury cars, bigger 4,000 or 5,000 square foot houses, when there's no need to even have that.
100 subscriptions for everything.
They eat out multiple times a week. They have this lifestyle they've created on that. And so they think they need to make all this money. Well, then that takes them away from their kids. That takes them away from their wife. That takes them away from God. And it takes them away from friendships and all these other things. And they're exhausted.
Mhm.
but they're providing financially, so they should be respected. Wrong. You shouldn't be respected from that. That's a small little bit. Are you providing emotionally safety? How do you provide emotional safety? Quality time, knowing your spouse, sending it so she can know you, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what your vision is, what your
Mhm.
plans are, and all this stuff. Spiritually, they know you're on point with God because you're in time in the Word, you're at church, you're in a men's group, you're doing all these things. They can know it. Then you're speaking that wisdom on them. That's how you do that. But if they don't feel emotionally, spiritually, relationally, or any of those areas financially secure, good luck. They won't be in their feminism. They're going to find it somewhere else.
Mhm.
They're going to look for it, or they'll take it on themselves. Your wife should not be the spiritual leader for your home. I know many women who are way more farther along in their faith. They should not be that as the leader. They still want you to pray over the family. They still want you to do that stuff, even though they may know more about the Bible than you or be closer to God than you. They still want you to do that.
Mhm.
In those things, do not be intimidated. You have to provide safety. Quit expecting her to be the man. So many guys want their wives, well, handle the kids, handle that, do this, blah, 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 on those things. No, she's not the man. We had a guy today in our program. And it's just so cool to see what's happening in this guy's life. He's probably been in there about 5-6 weeks, maybe at best. And just his marriage and his whole life's
Mhm.
changing drastically. And I just love seeing this post today. He was like, first and foremost, I took extreme ownership and told her where she's at and where our marriage is at is on me.
Mhm.
100% it is. Your wife is a gift to you that God's asked you to steward. And if she's hurting, she's struggling, and all the things that's happening on your watch. So he took extreme ownership. And then what's happened when it's honest and authentic, what do the women always do? Well, babe, it's not on you. It's not on you.
Yeah.
But if you don't take ownership, she'll say, you're not doing this. You're not.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just so cool to see what happens. But that's not the point of the story. Is he said, she didn't feel financially secure and she was with the kids. She was always the one who disciplined them, and they would just make her so angry and frustrated. She would yell at him and all these things. And he said, then it would just ruin her mood and she'd be so just like mad. And then that comes out on me. And he was like, what I realized was my wife is supposed to be a nurturer and a lover, a care for them and their needs in those areas.
Mhm.
But she's not supposed to be the one yelling and screaming. And well, nobody should be yelling and screaming. But
Right.
those things, if they're acting up, that's because the man is not setting the tone in the house of
Right.
how this goes. I knew better than to act up like that when I
Yeah.
was
Me
growing up.
too.
And so I didn't act out like that because
Mhm.
I knew my dad was the authoritarian. I didn't love my dad in certain aspects, but I knew there was HE double hockey sticks to pay if I got out of line. So I kept it in
Mhm.
line. If the wife has to do that, things won't go well. Let's look at our marriage and
Sound
how
familiar? Who used to yell at the kids all the time? Me.
big time. And what's crazy is, babe,
Yeah.
that you're not that person.
No,
You're this
I'm not an
relaxed,
aggressive
stable
person
at
in that
all.
way.
With me, with anybody
Yeah.
else. And so when I started seeing it happen with the kids, I was like, this is a side of Diane I've never seen.
Because it's not who I really am, but I was coming, it was out of fear, it was out of the unknown, it was out of all of those
You
things.
not being in your feminine because
Right.
the kids are acting up. They have no discipline. Why? Because their father wasn't doing it. Why? Because I wanted to be loved. I have this need to be loved like by other people and to have be significant and be validated and all these other things and be liked. And I wanted my kids because I felt like I was dropping the ball as a dad in other areas. I was providing financially for them, but being there as this dad who was really in all present and all these other things, I wasn't. So I felt bad if I was the one because I at least wanted them to like me because I knew I wasn't present in those other aspects and providing for them in those aspects that they needed spiritually, emotionally, and relationally with them.
Hmm.
So I wanted them to like me. So I didn't discipline them. Now I would from time to time if I got to the spot where it was too crazy and you were losing your mind.
Which
I
I
had
did
to jump in
often.
so regularly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I put a wall between us for a while. I was like, why are you yelling at them so much? It's like crazy. Well, you had to be in the disciplinarian role, but that's not the motherly role. Moms can discipline, but not the fathers need to set the tone in that.
Hmm.
And so that's what this guy said. He said, I've taken over that role from my wife and she can now pull back and be in her feminine. She doesn't have to be the masculine in those moments.
Hmm.
Now with the finances, she was the one who always handled the bills and all these other things. And I just went out and made money and did these things, but she never felt secure. And I had no idea what was going on in the finances. So I just spent and did all these other things. And so she was living in fear and I had no idea. He's like, I've been able to remove the fear from her life by taking over the roles and controlling and handling all these things and the disciplining with the kids, the finances, and all these other things that men are supposed to do
Hmm.
that she now feels in her feminine. And now she's able to breathe,
Yeah.
which we've seen you be able to do and have a better relationship with the kids and all these other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird because the world has changed so much that when you look back to like, the 40s, 50s, 30s, when however many years ago, um, you look at the roles and they were more in the roles that they should have been at that time. The man was the financial provider, but he was also the disciplinary of the house. He also did all the bills and things like that, everything financially. She was there to be in her feminine role and take care of, the daily stuff of taking care of the kids, the house, the things like that. And
Mhm.
that's really how it's supposed to be.
And that's why marriages lasted back then. The divorce rate was very few. Now, it
Mhm.
was also frowned upon, but it should be frowned upon because you're supposed to work it out. That
Mhm.
marriage is not for your happiness, it's for your holiness. Now, were guys flawed back then? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But here's the thing. That's what it's supposed to be, is they're working out when they're in these roles. My mom was over the other day and we were talking about the different roles of marriage and why her marriage has struggled for so many years. And so my mom is 73 and she's always had a thing for elderly people. One of her friends is 90 and she was hanging out with that 90-year-old person the day. And my mom told me this after I was talking to her. The 90-year-old woman, her husband has since passed away, but she said, it's so crazy. This is the 90-year-old saying this. Wives are supposed to submit to their husbands. And she's like, it just doesn't happen that way anymore.
Mhm.
But if you, what you just said,
Yeah.
the man was in his masculine.
Yeah.
He handled business more than just being a provider. He
Mhm.
provided spiritually for him. He provided emotionally for him. He
Mhm.
provided financially for him. He was there spending time with them. He ate dinner with the family. He did all that. He wasn't distracted by all the other BS. That's when it's real submission. Now, you can't
Mhm.
expect your wife to submit if you're not providing in all of those areas.
Right.
That's not what Christ is saying. The word submit comes after it says, because you're supposed to love your wife as Christ loved the church. What did Christ do? He served the church. He washed the feet of the church. He died for the church. He took ridicule for the church.
Yeah.
Are we willing to do that for our wives? Well, then if the answer is no, well, then your wife will not submit.
Right.
And that's biblical.
Yeah.
So next, I'm going to rip through a couple of these right here. You're supposed to lead her spiritually. That's obviously, you're supposed to be the one. Woman desire a man who can guide them closer to God, not further away. Pray over her, speak wisdom into her. Lead family devotionals. A woman will naturally soften when she sees her man fully submitted to God. Guys, this is what we have to do. Like, this is what women want. They want a spiritual leader. We're all yearning for things. If you don't know God at a deep level, you're yearning for him. You're yearning for God in food. You're yearning for God in porn. You're
Mhm.
yearning for God in all these other areas of life, finances, friendships, and all these things. You're yearning, but only God can fully satisfy those things. You have to be the spiritual provider, but that starts with you doing that. That means you're in men's group, you're reading the word, you're in solitude, you're tithing, you're taking a Sabbath, you're praying, you're doing all of these things that make you a follower of Christ.
Mhm.
And by doing that, it'll transform you, which then you'll have fruit, and your wife will follow that fruit. But if you don't have fruit, she won't submit. She won't see that this is a purpose of following God, because you say you believe in God, but you're a jerk and you do all these things and you have all these sins and lusts. Jesus said, now go and sin no more, to the woman who was of adultery. He didn't say, well, we're all just sinners saved by grace. No, he said, go and sin no more.
Right.
Go and sin no more. Now, do we fall short at times because we're flawed in things? Sure, but that's not an excuse. You should be fighting that temptation. That's where Paul talks about, man, you have yet to resist your temptation to blood. To blood. Have you resisted to that point? And if the answer is no, it's most people are like, this is hard. Okay, I'm just going to give in.
Right.
Well, then you don't have fruit. When you resist and it's hard, you callousing yourself. When you grow muscles in the gym, you are pushing yourself to failure, and you grow.
Mhm.
You grow from the pain, but you grow from the recovery. You grow from the pain that you're getting through persecuting and doing these hard things, but then you know where the recovery is? Sitting in solitude with God. So
Yeah.
be the spiritual leader. Make her feel seen and desired. Women crave a presence, not just physically, but emotionally.
Mhm.
Understand your wife. Sit with quality time with her. Do that. She wants to know that you actually care.
Just like everybody always says, women want to be connected emotionally, men want to be connected physically, which, it's actually both for both. But that's kind of like the saying. And that's why, because women want to feel that emotional connection. They need that connection to be able to just hop in bed with you,
100%. Because then it's just sex. And after a while, just emotionless sex
Yeah.
is boring for everybody at
Mhm.
the end of the day.
Mhm.
Set boundaries and enforce them. You know what our family stands for. You know what our core values are. Our kids know what our family stands for, what our core values are. As for our house, we serve the Lord.
Right.
Right? We have a vision and mission statement for our family to turn believers into followers and disciples and disciple makers by living boldly, speaking boldly, and loving boldly. That's the purpose of the McAllister family. What's our core values? Courage, authenticity, joyful, and discipline. That's our family's core values. We live by these things.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, there's boundaries. So if you were to stray from those, we have to talk about this and be like, babe, that doesn't fit into our core values, our vision statement, our mission statement. We're spending too much on all this stuff. Babe, we need to make sure we're blah, 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 blah. We have these boundaries, but not just rules because I just want to make rules.
Right.
There's rules that are biblically based because why God created me, why he created you, why he brought us together, and the purpose of our life, which is to love God, love people, and create disciples through our unique individual talents and traits. And when we know those, we then take that to create a vision statement for our family to go and do this. You follow that, and our boundaries and rules are off that. Rather than like, we'll just do what we want. And that's why there's people all over the place. Husband believes one thing, wife believes another thing. It's like fights.
They don't know what they believe.
There's no stability.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Bosu ball at the gym. You're trying to like balance on that by doing squats. That's what you're trying to do by trying to carry your family on your back on that Bosu ball. No, you need to be on solid ground. How do you have that? You have to have vision for where you're headed. So huge. Handle your own emotional stability. You have to be around other strong men. You have to be on point with God, and you have to be able to be composed. You have to make your decisions based on your commitments and not your feelings and emotions. Mm-hmm. You have to be stable so she can trust you. It is such a huge part that when they see the storm coming, they're not worried. You watched what happened when COVID hit. Everybody went number 2 in their pants. And you saw the people that were stable. They pivoted and they kept it moving. Mm-hmm. COVID was the best years of our life.
Yeah, it really was.
Obviously, we were sad that the world got to that way, but personally, best years of our lives. Mm-hmm. And the momentum's still getting better and better and better today because we were emotionally stable during those times. Our decisions not based off of Trump or Biden or the world. Our decisions are based off of God.
Right. We didn't jump to fear.
No. We were emotionally stable in that, and we pushed into it when it looked when everybody else just stayed home and put the masks on. We pushed into it. We created more business. We did more of that stuff. We did not let them dictate us. We pushed in on that. Stable, trusting. That's when you really started submitting that. And in the world's scariest times, you got more emotional security. It was all glory to God. Mm-hmm. So you have to be the protector and the provider. We already touched on that, where those areas are. Lastly, guys, you have to be enjoyable to be around. Make her laugh and enjoy life together. Seriousness 24/7 will kill her feminine energy. She wants to laugh. She wants to just be playful. She wants peace. She wants joy. Be somebody that can be serious, but be somebody that's just playful at the same time. But so it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. I'm in the garden chilling, pruning the flowers, laughing, enjoying the sun. But if stuff pops off, my wife knows that I'm ready to go to battle at any time.
Yeah.
Rather than just being this unserious guy all the time who's never prepared for war. Like, I'm ready for both of those things, but you have to be playful at that time. How important is that for women to feel in their feminine energy?
It's like one of the number one things in our house. Like, if we didn't have any kind of fun or play or joke or laugh or anything, how boring of a life it would be. People are way too serious. They need to be lighthearted more. It ruins so many things because the wife's like, oh, if you're just so straight faced and just all the time, it's like, oh, you can't just enjoy life together.
Yeah, we were working with this guy for a while, and big business guy, uber rich, super successful, right? Worldly successful. Mm-hmm. And he would read like 4 books a week. He would do all this stuff, and that got him worldly success, but a marriage that's not. And I told him, stop reading books, bro. And he was just like, yeah, we were on a road trip this weekend because our kids play traveling sports and we're on that road, and we always go together. And he's like, and so I would just kept putting on podcast after podcast, and she just didn't seem to really care. And I'm like, and then he's like, and what bothered me is it makes me super insecure is like, we were out hanging out with the other families last night, and she was just laughing and joking like all this time. And she was just having so much fun laughing at this other guy's jokes and all these other things. And I'm like, yeah, bro, because you didn't have a podcast on. She wants to enjoy. There's a time for a podcast, and there's a time to just laugh and joke it up.
Yeah.
This morning we got up, and the guys, it's just because this is from our 90s, and you already know what I'm going to say. is that I got up and I started rapping a verse from Snoop Dogg, and then I stopped and she finished the verse off for me. Like, it was fun and it was playful.
Right.
Now,
And
is that secular music? Yes, but it's playful and it's fun.
yeah, we're not taking that music to heart. We're letting it, rule the way we live our lives. We're just having fun. And we do that often, things like that, and it brings me joy because we can laugh and joke and have a good time together. And it shows our kids that that's the way that people should be as well.
And our kids, we do a family meeting once a week. We lead them these ways. But with that being said, we have tremendous amount of fun with our kids as well, and laugh and joke and all these things. So they can get the best. They're not just like, dude, my parents suck. All they want to do is talk about God and setting standards and all these things. They're going to be, dude, this sucks. Mm-hmm. But because we talk about that, and then we go have fun, laugh, joke, play games every single night, do all these things. And dad's always joking and singing songs to them and making up freestyles and all these other things. And it's like, dude, they're having fun. But then when they know dad lives by these standards over here, but it's fun, then they know this is what that looks like in marriage and life as well. It's not all just business. It's fun on that. So, all right, I'm going to rip through these last things, babe, because we got to get out of here and go to where? The gym?
The gym.
Because we got to make sure we're protecting and providing for our physical bodies as well. So we can be warriors in the garden. Anyways, so roles for the masculine husband. Number 1, leader. Number 2, protector. I'm not going to leave the numbers out. So I'm just going to go, you're a leader. Take charge with confidence. Protector. Create emotional and physical and spiritual security and make your wife feel safe. Be a provider in financial stability and in all the emotional and all those other spiritual areas as well. Be the spiritual guide. Be an emotional rock. Be a pursuer, continues to chase romance and affirm your wife, guys. Be the standard setter. You know the standards that I have, babe, and I know the standards you hold. Hold strong convictions and set healthy boundaries, guys. Be the decision maker. Consult with your wife confidently, but you make the final call on that after you've made sure that you know that and you've taken into heavy consideration what she says, and you guys have talked this out. But don't just be like, I don't know, whatever you want to do. Fine, if that's what you want, give in to her. It's like, no, you be the decision maker in the household. Accountability, hold her. You have to challenge other people. A person that holds their partner accountable loves them more than the person that lets them settle and stay the same. Yeah. And lastly, be the light bringer. Love on her. Be joyful. Be playful. Remember those things. Those are 10 things, guys. And for the role for the wife, she's a nurturer. She's an encourager. She's a respecter. She's an emotional connector. She's a support system. She has beauty and grace. She's a lover and playful partner. She's a housemaker, not just housework. That's cultivating peace, warmth, and welcoming in your environment. She's a mother. She nurtures and raises children with love, patience, and wisdom. And she's a joyful presence.
I want to say, so for all the men that are thinking, while listening to you say that, are thinking, my wife's not doing that. Oh, she's not nothing like that. All she does is, blah, blah, it's because you didn't lead the right way. So if you're saying that about your wife right now, because I know a lot of people are probably saying, oh, my wife's nothing like that. It's because you got to change. You have to be the one to lead the house the right direction. And then she will become that person.
Absolutely. And it's not 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Because if you listen to this and you own a successful business, you didn't build a successful business in 3 weeks. Yeah. You have to set the standard. And when speed bumps come, you keep going, keep going, keep going. I don't think we've done a podcast on the 4 stages of growth in marriage. So we probably need to do that. But there's 4 stages of growth in marriage. And guys, Diane, you hit this a nail on the head. If your wife is not that, it's not because you're not being to the T, the first 10 things that you need to do. You do those 10 things, whether or not she's doing her 10 things. It's not, I do this. So if you do that, I'll do this, or vice versa. No, you do that because that's who you are. You're an honorable person, not because they're honorable, because you're honorable. You're a respectful person, not because they're respectful, because you are. And you're called to steward your wife and your family. That's biblical. And if you're not doing it and you want them, you'll do it. If they only give you something, then guess what? That's probably where your relationship is at with God. I'll love you and I'll tithe and do all this and serve you if you give me this. But until then, I'm not going to be in my word. I'm not going to be a men's group. I'm not going to be telling other people about you, because you got to be doing this for me. You're all about the gifts, not the actual gift. Jesus is enough, not the extra gifts. Those will come if the gift is enough, but you should care less about the gifts. Your wife is a gift. She's enough. Stop caring about the gifts. Care about her. You do that no matter what, and your life will change. I promise you, I've seen it over and over and over and over again. Literally, listen to this text message right here. Got it. Got this message from one of my clients the other day. Let me pull this bad boy up right here. This is nuts. You know where our 15 marriage has been, but now I have grown so much personally and our marriage is drastically changing. This guy took extreme ownership after getting yelled at to take control of your house. He always had complaints. My wife's doing this. My wife's not that. My wife's this. And we had to yell at the guy and tell him to take control of his house. Guess what do you think he did? He did. Just this week, we had sex 4 times and she initiated for the first time in years. Grateful. God is so good. This program is wild. You know what's crazy is one of those initiations, they were about to go out to lunch together. And he said he came in the bedroom and she was waiting there for him in the bed. He's like, that's never happened in our 15-year marriage. Oh, guess what? You took control of the house. He became the masculine man who made her feel protected because she's one of her biggest things. She's slightly hypochondriac. She's extremely fearful of everything. I've never seen a level of fear in a wife like this, not of her husband, but of the world. Now she's getting her feminine energy back. She feels safe. And what do you think is happening? It's crazy, guys. It's so crazy. Take control of your house, but the way Jesus would. Love y'all. God bless you. If you enjoyed this, rate it 5 stars. Please, it means the world to us. And if you're on YouTube, please give us a subscribe and a like. It means the world to us. God bless you. Much love.
Bye.